Yeah, it seems to be going around.
Yeah, the listener said that when I was sick, it sounded great. You sounded so sexy. I went, well,
Wow, if we
I
could
was
capture more
sick.
of an audience this way, let's do it.
I don't know if that'll work. If we give them great information, though, for sure that will happen. And
Well, why
now,
don't you start off with doing that?
oh, okay. And
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea. Then we'll get into Dr. Mawakalani. Yes.
yes. Well, we always try to make sure that our seniors, especially our senior women, get the information, the appropriate information in our community. And for such a long time, a group, Barb, you belong to, Zanta,
Yes.
has sponsored activities. And one of the activities is coming up on December the 5th, which is next Tuesday at 2 o'clock at the Senior Center. It's called Empowering Senior Women. It's a workshop series that Robin Clow has put together through sponsorship from Zanta. And next week, there'll be a meeting at 2 o'clock with a panel, and it's will be on purpose and productivity as a senior woman, which offers guidance, resources, and strategies for joining the workforce. And when we're all, as we get older, but we all feel the need to have purpose. And when we're twiddling our thumbs at home, we kind of lose our skills sometimes for what we have done in the past. And this panel will have a discussion which will emphasize how women, our senior women especially, who are out there, who are trying to find their way back into the workforce, it will help them out, I think. So, why don't we all get together and try to meet up over there. It's 2 o'clock next Tuesday, 2 o'clock to 3:30. The other people on the panel will be Seema Shah, who's Executive Director of Hands-On Santa Clarita, also Joel Morgan, who's Regional Director of Workforce and Career Development of America, and then Kevin McDonald, we all know, from the Senior Center, who's the Executive Director there, as well as Robin Clow, who's a Volunteer and Activity Coordinator. So mark it on your calendar, Empowering Senior Women, next Tuesday, December the 5th at 2 o'clock at the Senior Center.
That's wonderful. And I was also a participant in the last one we had over at the Senior Center involving palliative care, long-term care insurance. We had an attorney there. We had a couple of representatives from healthcare systems and a representative from Oakmont.
Yeah.
So it's the first time I've ever done anything like that, and I was literally scared to death, literally. But I went home and I told Russ, I said, "You should have been there. You would have been so proud of me."
Aw.
Yes.
You just didn't go. You were the navigator and the
Yes.
coordinator of the program that day, which is not an easy task when you have panels of people that you have to stay organized and especially get the information out. But this will help. This event next week will help with our women who are here in the senior community who are trying to still move forward, and I think we need to do that. All of the things that you have done, Barb, in our community.
Well, thank you, Jean. And there are a great many senior women who volunteer in this community.
Yes.
Tons of them. In fact, I have several involved with the Rent-A-Santa program that benefits Domestic Violence Center. And they play Mrs. Claus along with maybe their husband or somebody else who plays Santa Claus. And they're invited to parties, and they have an absolutely wonderful time. They look forward to doing it each year. And they love putting on Mrs. Claus outfit because they look beautiful, dressed up in red dresses with white fur on the sleeves and that gorgeous little hat. It's wonderful. It really is, and it makes money for a good cause, the Domestic Violence Center.
I might have to send my mom that way because my mom is now retiring for the third time. She thought that it would be a great birthday present. Happy birthday to my mom, who is going to be 73 tomorrow.
Oh,
Wow,
bless her heart.
congratulations.
Happy birthday.
And so she is, retiring again on Friday, again, for the third time. So I should probably send her to that workshop. I think she would get a kick out of it and have some fun.
Yes.
Well, it's always good to move forward, in life. And, I'm not sure. I think there was a financial thing with government who said that, at 65, it's a good time to retire. But, our life expectancy was a little bit different. And nowadays, you have a good 2 decades to possibly still work with. And,
Oh, yes.
our senior men and senior women are out there sometimes trying to find their way in life.
That's very true. And it's interesting. Senior men love to be involved with security situations. There's
Yes.
so many of them, and they're all seniors. I have seen very few young men in security positions, walking around the stores, making sure everything is okay. It's a great thing to see. It really is.
Yeah. Well, I'm particularly encouraged because we need to keep our seniors as functional as possible. And it goes without saying that, if you don't use it, you lose it.
That's right.
So let's keep everybody out in the community and involved.
And of course, a part of what we do in practice in medicine is palliative care. And, as we head toward our senior years and, we start to notice our debilities that are starting to catch up with us. And, medicine and technology has come a long way, but, the TV shows and the movies make it sound as if that we can do everything and we have everything to offer and we're going to cure you and bring you back to life and you're going to do fine for another 20 years. But the reality is that just doesn't happen.
Right.
We have had in the past, we know that seniors, some have suffered as we push them through the medical care system. And sometimes you have to also as well look at the system and say, enough is enough. We've done the best we can medically as doctors, but as well, we've suffered a lot in terms of our own personal health, our well-being, and psychologically. And seniors need to know, when that point comes, and it's not always clear. It's a gray zone,
No, it is.
but they have to understand that when you're 20 years old, we can have 20 options for you to move forward and get better and be healthy. When you're 50 years old, it may be 10 things. But when you get to 85 years old, it might be 2 or 3 things that will really make a difference in life. And we have to decide, we have to weigh, do we really want to make that effort in terms of not just cost, but also the emotional and psychological part of this.
Right.
I was listening to the news today, and they were saying that end of life is not a inexpensive time because now we are paying for huge amounts of care. We are paying for costly medicines that might not even work, surgical treatments that could leave you dangling at the edge of life. It is not an easy discussion, but that discussion needs to take place with all of our seniors and how we are going to handle that. And, for us to turn to our parents and then say, or to our loved ones and say, let's talk about what you want. Let's talk about the details of life that you want to face and how you want to face them. It's not an easy chore, is it?
No, it's not. And it's something that we grapple with every day in the hospital setting. And it's not just on the palliative care service, it's throughout the hospital. But, I think that there are gifts that we can provide to our family members by sharing what's important to us. And I
right.
know that fairly uniformly people want respect and dignity, especially in their older years, when the treatments can just prolong suffering. But at the same time, we want to be able to maintain quality of life and focus on quality. And that's the thing that I'm always having to ride that scale with people. When does quality fall off?
Yeah.
And when is it now time to say, they no longer are, experiencing that quality of life. And when do we have to start thinking about other modes of care?
So let's for our listeners, they hear the terminology all the time: palliative care, hospice care, comfort care, all these terms, and it's I would still say, we talked about gray zone before. Sometimes palliative care comes into a gray zone in terms
Yes.
of even the professionals out there trying to define it. So let's, in a simple way, try to define what palliative care is for our listening audience.
So palliative care is the treatment that we provide to patients who have serious illnesses. And the nice thing about palliative care is it can coincide with curative treatments. So if a patient is getting ongoing chemotherapy for their cancers, if they're getting ongoing treatments for their heart failure or for their lung disease, it can coincide with that level of treatment, which is really quite remarkable, because it's like having an extra layer of support for that patient and family. Also, the important thing is that palliative care doesn't just focus on the physical ailments, but they also really focus on the social dynamics of the patient's condition. How does the psyche and how does the spirituality of that patient affect their physical being? So we really try to take a holistic approach to our care with patients. A lot of times we're just alongside trying to do a little bit of cheerleading, and that always is very, very helpful for the patients and families. And then sometimes we have to sit patients and families down and give them a reality check. So it really kind of depends on the scenario. But the nice thing about the job that I do is it's really each independent individual, and it doesn't have to be a senior. The youngest patient I've seen has been 15 years old. I've even seen NICU babies. So the range doesn't matter. The disease doesn't matter, as long as it's something that's serious. Even trauma patients we've seen, because it's a devastating illness when you come in as a trauma.
And
So it's rewarding.
It's not really cookie cutter.
It's definitely not cookie cutter.
Everybody's story, everybody's history, everybody's
goodness.
Health problems. They're all dynamic and shifting, and you don't always. There's not always a correct answer.
No,
we
not
would
at
like
all.
to think that, hey, we can shuffle you into a category, and then you can do this in a nice algorithm, and everything is perfect. It doesn't work that way. And you
totally
really
agree.
have to, look at the situation, and let's talk a little bit about quality of life. What we mean by quality of life, and how our seniors end up starting to suffer, and what those things that come into their focus that now they're dealing with.
It's funny, I had a patient one time who he defined quality of life as being able to eat Haagen-Dazs ice cream, drink rum, and what was the other thing? I think chips or something like that. That was his quality of life. He didn't want to be bothered. He wanted to watch TV. He said, just as long as I can do those things, that's all that's important to me. So you have to really...
that-
There's
that's-
nothing wrong with that.
Nothing
Well,
at all.
yeah.
Because I like Haagen-Dazs.
Real, yeah. It's too expensive. What do you mean?
Hey, I get it on
can
sale.
be. It can be. It can be a very, very expensive habit.
Oh,
You're absolutely
yes.
right.
To me, that's a once in a while for me.
Aw.
Especially when I happen to be in the community where there is one of those stores that has
Oh,
them.
yes.
But as we age, we start to feel the aging catch up with us, and some of the things that start to happen, as we mentioned earlier, is retirement. So some people reach 65 and they have to retire. Others can prolong it to a longer period of time, but they have to retire. They start to see their income change. They start to see that they can't drive, or they're having more difficulty driving. And of course, the mobility part, they start to find that they're not getting up as quick. They're moving a lot slower. They're their reflexes and everything, and they start to fall. And when
Yes,
you
it's a
start,
problem.
when all these things begin to happen, and it could happen at any age. I think there are some people like Barbara that aren't facing these problems right now, but there are others who are 60 years old and they're going, hey, what's going on here?
Yes.
Life, that my quality of life is starting to suffer, and they're seeing the horizon, and they're going, uh-oh, is that sun coming up or is that sun going down?
Yes.
In my case, the sun is always coming up.
And there's no
That's
eclipse to
awesome.
that sun, is there?
No. I'm not going to let it go the other way.
No.
It's not going to go down. It's coming up.
That's
All the
right.
whole time.
And that's the spirit of it, and that's the importance of that drive. That drive means everything.
Yes, it does, because it really helps out, especially when you have, serious things that you're handling. And that happens with so many of our seniors. It really does.
Yeah.
When they have a hard time walking, they have to get the walker before they can do anything, or walking with a cane, or even in a wheelchair. And as long as they are up and positive, they're going to be fine.
Yes.
Because psychologically, the mind helps push you down or bring you up. It really does.
Absolutely.
But that reality also is that as we age, and we see it in our hospital setting, that, when you are younger, if you get a cold or a flu or pneumonia, you're sick for 2 or 3 days and you're done. Whereas when you're in a hospital setting, a lot of other factors start to play a role. Not only the medicines that you're on, but what you've set yourself up in life as being. If you're in good shape, if you've been exercising, or if not, what are your habits like drinking or smoking that are now playing a detrimental role. So there's a lot of things that our seniors face and have to go through, and life and the psychological side as they look forward to certain things. When they get sick, they say, no, I'm sick, but I'm going to get back to it. Even though it takes a longer time, I want to get back to what my goals are. And you see that every day at the senior center.
Yeah.
Yes.
And individuals over there who, you don't see them for a week. Oh, I was sick. I wasn't feeling well, but they
they're
plow
back.
through it. But
Yep.
they're back because
They're back.
they're playing in the band. They're setting up the meals there. They're participating in the exercise programs. They're knitting, crocheting, playing cards. Square dancing. You name
Aw.
it. They're doing all these things that are still exciting for them. And so, they're laying on their pillow in their bed and not feeling good, but they're saying, hey, I got to move forward. I got to get up. I'm not going to be a cookie cutter type person. I'm moving up, and I'm going to keep going, just like
And
you do, Barb.
especially when we have this fantastic senior center here. They offer so many opportunities for seniors to stay involved or to get involved. They have all kinds of things that they do over there. I've been over there when I've joined them in the exercise. And boy, they don't just pick it up slowly and
No,
put it
not at all.
down. Those legs and arms are flying around all over the place. And you think, wow, some of those seniors are up in age, but they
They're
keep
doing
going. They keep going.
They're doing it.
Yes,
Oh
they
my
do.
goodness, I love it.
I think it's wonderful, and now we're looking forward to having a brand new senior center with even more space to hold other functions that will get the whole community involved. It's a wonderful place. It really is. And I think we need to take a break, don't we? It's about that time. Okay. We will do that. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, KHTS.
Drugs or alcohol abuse can tear a family apart. In Santa Clarita, just like everywhere else, it's an epidemic. The Way Out Recovery is here to help. Call them now at 296-4444 or visit them on the web at thewayoutrocoveryscv.com. The Way Out offers outpatient treatment for adolescents, adults, and family members. The Way Out is compassionate, caring, professional, and confidential. You and your family don't have to suffer any longer. Call the Way Out Recovery now 296-4444 or visit thewayoutrrecoveryscv.com and make an appointment. Asking for help is the first step.
Santa Clarita's new Friday night happening place is Vine's Restaurant and Bar at the Hyatt Valencia.
Vine's Restaurant rocks.
Featuring their prime rib buffet dinner.
Oh man, awesome buffet.
Prime rib, the best.
Our Friday feast.
Tomato basil soup, homemade.
Shrimp and Caesar salad.
Vine's Restaurant Friday night prime rib buffet, only $29.50.
The ultimate date night.
Make your Friday date night at Vine's Restaurant and keep every day of your week happy at the Vine's Lounge and Patio Happy Hour, 4 to 7 p.m. daily, featuring $5 appetizers and drinks.
Men, are you feeling tired, stressed, or just don't have the energy you used to? Did you know this could be related to decreased testosterone levels? Luckily, there's a safe, effective solution. Weeder Prime helps support healthy testosterone levels with clinically tested key ingredients. Just 2 capsules of Weeder Prime each day can help change your mood, energy, focus, body fat, and lean muscle. Feel the way you felt 10, 20, even 30 years ago. Rediscover your Prime with Weeder Prime. To find a retailer near you, visit WeederPrime.com. That's WEIDER Prime.com.
The Santa Clarita Artists Association has a new gallery in downtown Newhall on 6th Street between Main and Railroad, right across from the Canyon Theater Guild. The gallery features our members' paintings, sculptures, and one-of-a-kind handcrafted gift items. Whether you're an art lover, buyer, or an artist wishing to join, visit our website at santaclaritaartist.org, come to our free monthly meetings at Barnes & Noble, or stop by the gallery. For upcoming events and exhibits, check us out at santaclaritaartist.org. We make visual art visible.
Do you like to rock across Africa?
Then the wait is over.
Africa Rocks! Africa's Greatest Hits is now available at the San Diego Zoo! And who could forget 99 red baboons?
Or the African crested porcupine smash hit, I Got Quills to Pay the Bills! Hey, don't get too close!
And the hits keep on coming!
Africa Rocks has all your favorites from 6 different African habitats.
Hungry like a leopard!
Ibex is back!
Harder, better, Fossa stronger!
And a new track from Kendrick Lamar!
Now, Larry.
Yes, Chuck?
A collection of this magnitude, I'd fly to Africa!
Well, don't pack your bags, friend. Africa Rocks is only available right here at the San Diego Zoo.
Wow, that really does rock.
No, it Africa Rocks.
Welcome to Africa Rocks. Experience 6 different African habitats, including our first ever aquatic enclosure with African penguins. Only at the San Diego Zoo.
At Advanced Audiology, we know how important hearing is to you, your loved ones, your work success, your safety, and your ability to stay in the game. Most people won't admit hearing loss to themselves or others. We make it easy for you. Today's digital hearing aids come in a variety of styles, including invisible. All feature-rich, providing unparalleled hearing quality, wearing comfort, and automation that simplifies your life. Don't be fooled by our imitators. There's only one Advanced Audiology with the purple sign next to AAA on Valencia Boulevard.
I listen to it all day, every day.
Hometown, your hometown station.
Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64?
Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, KHTS. And we're speaking with Dr. Marwa Kalani, who is a palliative care doctor. And we've hit a lot of things already, haven't we?
Yes.
But once again, can you tell us what palliative care is?
So palliative really focuses on patients who have serious illnesses. Sometimes they're devastating. So if a patient, I remember once I had a patient, she was a vibrant 81-year-old, very active, was still working, and she developed a devastating stroke.
Ooh.
And that was a patient that we saw fairly quickly as soon as she got admitted because she was pretty devastated by her illness. So it really is a very individualized process. As Dr. Dorio mentioned, it's not cookie cutter. We can't just lump every single stroke patient into one conglomerate and say, yes, they all need palliative care. No. It really has to have had devastating effects on a patient's quality of life and really changes the journey in life. So the way that I would look at it is, you know, I know lots of people who've had strokes. Not all of them have needed palliative care. But there are certain individuals who've had strokes that it has really affected their lives, and we need to help them either cope with their new situation or redefine what's important to them. So that's the way that palliative care works. Our Academy of Palliative Medicine really is trying to differentiate itself from hospice. We're really trying to move away from the term of hospice, because there is so much confusion and overlap.
Well, there is a difference.
There is definitely a difference, and truly hospice is just a Medicare guideline, if you will. It's about providing end-of-life care for patients in the last 6 months of their lives. It's a Medicare rule, basically. But the way that I would look at it is palliative care can really coincide with any type of treatment that a patient is getting. And it's about the holistic approach to treating a patient and family. So outside of Dr. Dorio and some really awesome geriatricians in the community, not very many people are managing the families that are involved in the patient's life. And that's a huge aspect of how we deal with our patients.
Yeah. So let's go into the realm of end of life, which is hospice.
Yes.
And the Medicare guidelines allows a person to be on hospice for 6 months. In all honesty, I've never had a patient on hospice longer than a week.
Yeah, that's right.
And to me, like most of us can do, we know when our patients are at the edge. We don't want them to get there suffering, that's for sure. And that doesn't happen. We have been able to guide them with sometimes even without the use of opiates and a lot of drugs, but guide them as their life is coming to an end. And the big thing with me is that when I see them starting to suffer, when I see them knowing and being aware that this is end of life, and I as well present that to them factually, face to face. We've done everything we can. You've had a great life. You've got super family around you. But this is the time and this is the moment where your life is going to end. And that factuality, I will tell you, there has been no one that I've ever come across that has said, no, that's not true. I'm going to live for another a year or 5 years. I'm going to keep going. They know. And my job as a physician is to help guide them and assure that spiritually, emotionally, and physically they are not suffering. And by doing that and allowing our patients to have that kind of care at the end of life, to me, allows me to complete my goal of caring for my patients. And when they go, it's in a way that is where they're comfortable, where they're not suffering, where the family also is by their side and caring for their loved ones even at the last moments. It's a beautiful scene, and understanding this end-of-life process is necessary, and that discussion needs to take place with all of our physicians, and quite honestly, it's still a work in progress because we're not quite there yet.
Yeah, I think one of the things that worries me about hospice care is outside of the few nonprofit organizations that do hospice and who do it well, they're not in it for the right reasons necessarily.
Right.
And it concerns me. And I have been able to experience hospice care through our patients and families in many different levels and many different organizations. And I think keeping a either faith-based or nonprofit organization as part of your hospice choice is very important, because I think the care is absolutely different.
In the state of California, as is around the country. You know, the Medicare has allotted for hospice care as a part of Medicare.
Yeah.
But business people have taken over that aspect to a certain degree, and the reality is that, you know, we put our patients in a position where they're ready to go, but then sometimes, you know, if we don't know the agency or the hospice group,
Right.
you know, it gets to be problematic. And we've
They're
over the
vulnerable.
the last few years, this has been in trying to figure out and challenge some of these groups that are out there. Some of them don't know what they're doing. Some of them, you know, have gotten into it because of the money aspect. And, you know, government needs to reflect on this. And, you know, media has not taken a role in exposing all the things that are going on. And you know, I do write, and I write about this on occasion, but I try to put out there also that there are ongoing problems with the whole situation, that when you have doctors saying go on hospice and here's an agency, you know, don't take just one. You know, get online, look everybody
Right,
up, look
get
the
some
doctors
choices
up.
going.
You know, make sure you have options.
Yep.
And we
you
can
know,
do that now.
We can do
Yes.
that
No
now.
excuse.
They get
Absolutely no
yelped.
excuse.
Oh yeah,
Literally.
they get Yelp, they get ratings,
Mm-hmm.
you know, through the Centers for Medicare Medicaid Services. I mean, there's a lot of information out there, so don't just take it at face value.
And there's a lot of angles to this as well, because I, as a hospice doctor, I have screened patients to see whether they're eligible for hospice through good organizations, and I found some of the health insurance agencies and even hospitals tend to push people into hospice. Why? Because it's a financial goal for them.
Yes.
The system is set up so that when you go on to hospice, then some of these organizations wash their hands of you financially.
Yeah,
and
it's a problem.
And it's a huge problem because it's all solely based on profit motive. And I think, you know, we're talking here and everything sounds nice and pure, that things are going to work out when you go on hospice. But over the past 2 to 3 years, I think there's been a recognition that it's not that simple. And putting it out there saying there are problems with this system and ongoing still that need to be changed has come to the forefront. It hasn't risen as high as I think it should, but as a physician, I'm seeing the need to assure that at end of life our patients are not being taken advantage of because somebody else is having some financial gain from it. That cannot happen, and that's a high criticism that not only I, but others, primary care doctors, but other groups in this country have said enough is enough. So we're letting people know the positive things about palliative care, the positive things about hospice care, and to me it's still a wonderful arena that we can get under this umbrella and assure that your end of life is spiritually and emotionally fine with your family. But we've got to deal with the other aspects of it, and when it comes to making these laws and rules and things like that, it's a problem.
Yeah, there's a lot of policy work that we should be, focusing on, and unfortunately, I don't think that the priorities are set that way. I think the other thing that's very important, and I have a good friend of mine who is looking into it, is just abuse of the senior in general, and I think that's something also that needs to be looked into.
It can, I honestly think we need to call it what it is. It can sometimes be elder abuse.
It can be.
That's right.
And
yes.
In this state and in this country, euthanasia, which is giving the opportunity to people to die, but actively doing it, is not allowed. we are not supposed to do that. We can make them comfortable, but we cannot actively do that. But some of that actively doing that is occurring, unfortunately, and sometimes not enough of it is given. And there's a balance there that policy needs to look at, and not allow those who want to take advantage financially of the situation to put it into a better balance. And if criminality needs to be enacted against some of these people who are taking advantage, then we'll charge them with elder abuse.
That's right.
I don't think there's a lot of people doing this, but it is out there. And I think both of us have felt that, the disappointment that has taken place, and the leeriness that we have to, as physicians, be aware of to make sure that our patients aren't dumped in a situation where they don't do well and they suffer even more. That can't
I've seen
happen.
That. I've seen it.
Just
I've
can't.
seen it, and it's horrible.
And there are so many forms of elder abuse.
Yes.
It's not just smacking them around.
No. It's
do
not
as they're
physical
told. No.
necessarily.
And
It can be financial.
Absolutely. And a lot of it occurs with family members.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Oh, it's unbelievable. It really is. And I can remember when my sister-in-law, it's been 25 years ago now, she was living in a, not a board and care home, but a facility. And she told me one day, because I used to take her to Henry Mayo for, I don't think it was Henry Mayo, for kidney dialysis. And she had to go 4 times a week.
Oh.
It was that severe. And she finally said to me, she said, I don't want to do this anymore. I absolutely don't want to do it. I want to just be left alone, and I'll take care of me, and the people here will help take care of me. And the doctor finally said, we need to get hospice care for her. And the hospice care people, and I don't know who they are now, but they were absolutely wonderful. They took such good care of her, because I was there a lot of the time, And she finally said, I don't want any more oxygen. I don't want any more. And they put the morphine, that's what it was, to keep the pain away. And she says, I don't want it anymore. Take it out.
Yeah.
I want to go be with Hank.
Yeah.
And how can they not do that, That was her wish. That's what she wanted. She didn't want anybody else taking care of her and keeping her alive, because she was bedridden. She didn't like it at all. She was miserable. And so, that was her decision to make. And she did. She went peacefully.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah,
really was.
I had a patient who had been married for over 50 years, and his wife passed away, but he got a bad infection and he became paralyzed from that. He
became paralyzed?
Paralyzed. He couldn't walk. So I visited him for the first time in his home, where in the living room he had a hospital bed. And he was an executive, and he knew what he wanted in life. And on that very first visit, we talked about his quality of life and what he wanted, exactly what he wanted. His 2 daughters were there listening to the conversation and involved in the conversation. And then I saw him at that point, and a few months later, I saw him, like 3 months later, I saw him again. He was fine, but about 3 months after that, he came into the hospital, and he was not awake. He was unconscious. And the 2 daughters were there, who now had power of attorney to make decisions. And they said, I said, what choices do we have? We know he does not want resuscitation and CPR and all that, but how aggressive do you want me to be? And they said, we want you to give him antibiotic, which we thought he had an infection, and hydrate him, give him fluids, but that's it. Yeah. So we did that, and like 3 days later, I'm walking down the hall toward his room, but I could hear him talking. So he was awake, and the family was in the room, but I walked in the room, and he slammed his hand down on the table and looked at all of us, and he said, why am I here?
Oh.
I told you, and he's looking at his daughters and me, I told you what I wanted, and why am I here? I want you to pull the IVs out and stop the antibiotics, which we did, and within 24 hours he passed away.
Oh, God bless.
But that was what he wanted. He did not suffer. He stayed in that room. He did not suffer. He was fine. So this was his wish.
Yes.
And this is what he wanted, and he was going to join his wife, he said.
Aw.
And indeed he did.
That's exactly what happened to Lee.
Yeah.
She wanted to be with Hank.
Yeah.
That was the bottom line.
Bottom line.
And how can you refuse someone like that?
How do you do that?
Knowing that if she stayed alive, she was being forced to stay alive by the situation around her. And no, that's not what she wanted. And bless her heart, she died peacefully.
Yeah.
And that's the nice part about it.
That's right.
And we need to take another break. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, KHTS.
So this...
It's allergy season again. You've tried it all, yet your sinuses continue to be a problem. Try something different, something holistic, something that will really work. Acupuncture. Kathleen Keneally is Santa Clarita's acupuncture and innate specialist. She's been treating many of your neighbors and their children for allergies, sinuses, headaches, and pain. Find out how acupuncture can improve the quality of your life. Call Kathleen Keneally for a free phone consultation. 252-4100. 252-4100. Acupuncture. It really works.
I just want to send a shout out to all my customers. It's Dave Reeves from Reeves Complete Auto Center in Canyon Country.
Reeves, Santa Clarita's choice for quality customer and automotive care.
I've been in automotive service my whole life. I learned customer service and honest communication make the difference.
Reeves, where customers matter.
I really appreciate your business and hope to serve you in the future. Thank you very much.
Reeves, on Ruther in Canyon Country.
You've been assigned to plan your office party. Time to bring in the experts. AV Party Rentals is your go-to place for the most innovative holiday party ideas. AV's been planning Santa Clarita events from giant galas to intimate gatherings for longer than, well, since Rudolph was a young fawn. AV will turn your office party into a winter wonderland. See the latest holiday displays at Santa Clarita's favorite wedding, party, and holiday event rental store, AV Party Rentals on Newhall Avenue and at avpartyrental.com.
At Advanced Audiology, we know how important hearing is to you, your loved ones, your work success, your safety, and your ability to stay in the game. Most people won't admit hearing loss to themselves or others. We make it easy for you. Today's digital hearing aids come in a variety of styles, including invisible. All feature-rich, providing unparalleled hearing quality, wearing comfort, and automation that simplifies your life. Don't be fooled by our imitators. There's only one Advanced Audiology with the purple sign next to AAA on Valencia Boulevard.
Drug and alcohol use can lead to troubles at school or work, relationship problems, financial or legal difficulties, medical and psychiatric issues. I'm Bob Sheritz, the host of the Way Out Recovery Hour, airing every Monday at noon. The Way Out Recovery Hour features prominent guests and organizations discussing the epidemic of drugs and alcohol in our valley. Don't miss the Way Out Recovery Hour every Monday at noon. Asking for help is the first step. There is the way out.
Hometown, your hometown station.
I just like the variety of music.
KHTS. Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64?
Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, KHTS. And we're speaking with Dr. Marwa Kalani, who's a palliative care doctor. And during the break, we were talking about what our final few minutes will be, and she suggested leaving a legacy.
Mm-hmm. So I think Dr. Dorio was very inspiring in sharing a very unique story of a patient who had developed a video to share with the rest of his family, particularly at a monumental event in that family's life. And sometimes we need to start thinking about legacy. Like, what does our lives mean to us? How do we want to be remembered? Mm-hmm. How can we be remembered? What are the things that we can do to leave a legacy? And especially because we just passed Giving Tuesday yesterday, and there's a lot of things that we can do philanthropically. There are videos we can develop for our family members. There's journals we can write to them. And I know that one of my social workers, Lisa, her mom recently passed away. She was 93. And she was an avid writer, and she wrote beautiful poems. And they took that collection of poems and developed it into a book, and every family member got a copy of it.
Oh, wow.
It was just gorgeous. And so these are some of the things that we need to start thinking about. You know, what are the things that are important to us now that we can do for our families, so that, you know, if we're no longer here, and, you know, God only knows what that day would be.
True.
How are we going to be remembered?
Not an easy task, though, is it?
No,
because,
it's not.
We are, 1 year old, 5 years old, 10 years old, and 89 or 90 or 100 years old. We are establishing our legacy already. But your final hours and final moments are indeed remembered. And I know our family members, when I've always talked with them and talk with them later down the line, have said, this is how I remember my mom, my dad, my wife, my husband, and they're great moments and they're wonderful moments. And you want it to be that way. You want to not be suffering, but you also want to have that dignity of life to be able to move forward and face end of life, so that it doesn't impact anybody, but it gives you a positive impact to the rest of the people, especially around you.
Absolutely.
It does. And one of the things my granddaughter has volunteered to help me do is get all of my photographs put in albums. And I have tons of them. I mean, literally boxes that stand this high, full of photographs. And we've already started doing it. And she says, Nanny, you've got to be here when I do it, because I have to know exactly what this is and what this says and where you were and all
who
that.
this is. And
Yes,
absolutely.
And
That's
so far
beautiful.
she's doing a great job. And she's off school. She's a hard of hearing teacher up there in Palmdale. And she has 3 weeks off for Christmas.
Oh, great time to do it.
Yes. And so her little one is in daycare. So she can come down. She says, let me know. We've got to get this thing done.
Yes, absolutely.
And she's right. I do have to get it done.
I think one of the tasks that I'm going to get my mom on, especially, with all this holiday seasons, we just passed Thanksgiving and there's New Year's and all the wonderful holidays through Christmas and Hanukkah and such. I want to get her to write down all of her recipes. And she's a phenomenal cook. And if she can't do the recipe writing, at least maybe we can video her making these recipes, so we can,
that's cool.
Because her cooking's amazing. So I need to get a hold of these recipes.
Yeah, and she loves to do it too.
And she loves to do it. But she's one of those that doesn't know how to do, teaspoon measurements and such. So we'd have to physically watch her do it so that we could get the gist of it.
Yes.
So there's a lot that we can do to augment our lives, leave a legacy, and make special moments for those that we love.
That's right.
Well, I'm just glad, though, Dr. Kalani, that you are doing what you do, because I think it's your field, it's where you belong, and where you're giving the greatest help to your patients and society, and I thank you for that.
Oh, I love what I do, and I'm very fortunate. I do work at Holy Cross, and I'm very fortunate to have a very supportive administration. So
that's wonderful.
I'm blessed.
Yeah, thanks for being on the show again. We appreciate it.
Thank you again.
We are sponsored by Advanced Audiology and Comfort Keepers in Home Care. Listen to us next week on the Senior Hour. Now go and enhance your quality